Here we go. Okay, good day. Today's episode of Cruising with Phil. My name's Phil the Cruise. Today I have a special two guest edition. To expect is from Lisbon, Portugal, Mr. Ricardo Moreira and his beloved wife, Arina Moreira. Right?
Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
guys.
So introduce yourselves and tell me what it's all about.
Irina.
Well, my name is Irina. I'm a producer. I am also, I'm starting a master on urban sustainability. And so I'm in love with cities. And Ricardo, who I am married to as well, is a very stubborn person who loves city as much as I do. And we had very big discussions about how can you transform cities? How can cities serve us better? What good practices should we have in Lisbon? And where can we go get good examples of what's happening out there? And so Ricardo went and did stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that's about it, Phil. Thank you for having us.
No, great. I really appreciate this. Nice talking long distance first time. You did four cities, right? I was watching the videos. You did
five. We did
five cities. Yeah.
We've done 5 cities, 5 episodes, and we wish to do more. But still, I think that what led us to do that was precisely the same debates that you're having up there.
Yeah.
So the thing was, we here in Lisbon and here in Portugal, all the discussions were very close, very tight, and nobody had any new great ideas. So what we thought was, well, why don't we go out there and showcase the best policies for cities that we know about? And we were very lucky because, well, we had almost no budget. And we went with a skeleton crew, me and another guy, and I wrote it all, and Irina produced it all. So we didn't get any money by doing it. It was just out of stubbornness and love for the cities. And we went all over Europe to find the best examples we could find for those specific public policies. And well, we sort of changed the debate here too. So we're really glad that we're able to show that to you guys there in Canada.
We're going far.
Yeah. Well, I showed it to. Well, when I sent you the message about the invite, what did you think about that? Like I said, I shared on the tweet over here in Canada, and I got a big response for it.
Well, that's great. We know there's the big Portuguese community there in Canada. And so I think that most people that come from Portugal and that know people from Lisbon understand that we have a housing crisis. Like, well, it's awful, and it's going to get worse in January. So we are very, very much afraid of what's going on here. We have a big problem with housing, and so we went to Berlin, and apparently Berlin and Vienna in Austria are the best examples you can find in terms of what you should do to tackle a housing crisis. And we started from there, and we were able to interview ministers and councilmen and women and people who work and were activists. So it was great, and we're glad to share it with you guys.
Especially because you start talking about, putting housing with the social. Como é que tu dizes trabalho às rendas? Sorry.
Social cap, maximum cap.
Yeah, when you start talking about make things affordable, especially on housing for people, and make it affordable for everyone, people start with that debate that you're all communists. And what is special about this is that you can get great examples from countries that have all sorts of policies, and all sorts of policy makers. So it's more like a justice situation answer than actually trying to make everybody comrade, I think.
Did you? I sent you some of the our housing policies for starting the new mayor started this year. Did you read any of the stuff I sent you?
Well, we couldn't. I'm really sorry.
That's okay. It's a lot to read.
But if you can go through them, maybe we can share some thoughts.
basically what you've accomplished in some of the countries there, we try to get the biggest problem, as you probably know, is the red tape. It takes a long time to get processed, which is unnecessary. What is it? Was it Helsinki? How you about the homelessness?
Yes, it is.
That's amazing what they did. They reduced homelessness. I mean, we're trying to get that down here right now. Problem is here that we don't have a policy where they should make it a law where you cannot evict people out on the streets unless you have a place to put them in, and that's the problem right now. The people they're closed down these temporary hotels, shelters, and there's nowhere to put them, and that's the problem. And they're out in the streets, and that shouldn't be.
No, that's awful.
Yeah.
We have a very bad situation here in Lisbon with homelessness as well. It's about there's about 350 people living rough in the streets, and we have about 4,000 persons that live precarious, that can be that are officially homeless. So it's a big issue here in Lisbon, and we wanted to see the best example. And the best example, not in Europe, in the world, it's Helsinki.
Helsinki.
And yeah, and what have they done that's different from everybody else? They've done two things. First of all, 10 years ago, they went ahead and they had the best shelters ever. But they understood that the problem with shelters is that they could solve temporary homelessness, people that were on the street for not a very long time, but they couldn't solve the problem with long-term homelessness. And they understood something that, well, when you say it out loud, it seems candid. It seems kind of, well, everybody knows what you're talking about. And the thing is, you have to start with the house. That's the basis of everything. And there's a lot of ways you can take care of someone who's homeless. Here in Portugal, we had the shelters regime, but sometimes in some shelters, you can only enter if you were clean in terms of consumption of drugs or in terms of consumption of alcohol. And that's really unfair, because if you think about your family, you know that if somebody has a problem with addiction in your family, all the family goes around and gets together, and you have to find a psychiatrist, and you have to find a psychologist, and that people need to get meds, and it takes a long time. And this is within a structured family. And then a guy living rough in the streets alone, you tell him, well, you can only access this bunk, this little bed that we have here, if you're clean. And that's really unjust, and that really doesn't work.
Yeah,
so
it's kind of prejudiced in a way. It's very prejudiced,
It is. It's blaming that person for and making him pay. It's even worse than blaming him
for what it is, a health problem.
It's a health problem.
It's a health problem.
Yeah. Basically, you're saying it's your fault that you're like that. Sorry, you can't get in. I shouldn't be like that. We have the same thing over here. We have injection sites. I don't know if you heard of this. We have injection sites around the city where people actually go up and get injected for their dose. And but that's where it stops. So basically, you said you can't get in because you're taking this, but it's required in your system. So it's not a case of addiction, a case of livability, right? Some people have different issues, and you can't segregate one issue to the other. You can't say because you did this, you're not getting there. There's a lot of mental issues big time over here, and it's not handled properly. They put them in shelters, in hotels. The problem is that's where it stops. There's nothing exactly set up that's long term. Like you talked about one of the countries, they had programs helping to get back on the streets or helping with mental issues or health. Just something to support. Even if they're not going to get off your addiction, you need that support. You can't just say, sorry, you got a time limit, you're on your support. I give you 6 months. Sorry, you're out the door. Can't do that. It's long term.
Yeah.
Everything.
Now it is. So what they found out in Helsinki is that if you give a home to a person, then in the long term, that person really is able to get back on track. And they do it, they give the home without conditions, and they support that person in terms of mental health, because some people, or most of the people that live rough, have mental health issues, at least in Lisbon and in Helsinki. I don't know what's going on in Canada, but here and that's the problem, and in terms of addiction, which are both health problems, as Irina said. So what they found out is the program it's a program called Housing First, where you give the house first, and then you start to give low threshold jobs like cleaning your own room. This is a low threshold job. But what they found out is that the next day people wake up to that low threshold job and want to do that, and they start losing their addiction, and they start being open to a program to tackle their addiction or their mental problem.
Especially because you're not treating them as if they were not part of the society, as
Exactly.
they were outcasts. And
That's a problem here. We don't treat them as real people, like you said. You know, everybody's a person.
and they are real people. They are as real as I am.
You know, we always say when the election, if you can vote, you're real. So why can't you help the person?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
it.
You know.
So apparently in Helsinki, this program is so successful that they closed every shelter that they have. They no longer have shelters because they have housing first programs, and now their goal is to eliminate altogether homelessness. Altogether. So it's the only country in the world that has been able to reduce homelessness as a social problem by doing something that's really, really candid, to give somebody a...
Can you give me the time difference between when they started the program and what the outcome, like how many years it took or how long?
Well, they started many decades ago, and but they didn't have the Housing First program. The Housing First program is from around 2008, I think, but they've copied it from an American program. Housing First was an American policy first, but the place in the world that it has the best results is in Helsinki. And I'll tell you what, we've copied it as well in Lisbon, and the results are amazing. We had 80 housing first houses, and in the last mandate, the city hall expanded that to almost 400, and the success rate of that program is of about 80%, which means that people stay, and they didn't stay in the hotels, the temporary hotels. People stay and they get better in their illness. So we are quite amazed with it, and it has become, because of that test, it has become a national policy, and now the government, because of Lisbon, is implementing it all over the country. We hope that it's going to go well. Well, apparently the data says it will be, but we will only know in a couple of years, of course.
Oh wow, that's great. That's amazing. Wow. I gotta ask, can you tell the people your background? I know your wife's background, but I read your little bio there.
Well, it's almost the same as Irina. We fell in love with each other and with cities, actually, and I'm originally I'm a forestry engineer, and then I understood that I loved people more than forests, and that I needed to talk with people, and then I went to study economy and public policies, and I work for a government agency, and right now I'm chief of staff of a councilwoman here in the Lisbon municipality, and on the same time I'm a PhD student on climate change and sustainability. Wow, so that's pretty much our background. So we came together, and right now we're really interested in cities because well, to tell you the truth, it's like everybody in the next century, most of the people on the planet already live in cities, and that's going to be much more than that. Almost 70% of the people of the planet are going to live in cities, and cities are very important in terms of sustainability. It's the key to the climate policies are in cities. So this is the debate. This is the debate we want to be in.
And we have a target. Sorry, go ahead.
Going back a little bit, because all of the climate change and the fact that I'm studying urban sustainability is actually a key holder of all of this as well, because as Ricardo was saying, cities are seen right now as a problem, because they have too many people, because they are a source of problems because of cars, because, and actually we look at them as an answer for most of the problems that are happening. And actually COVID allowed us to do the episodes, but as well, Ricardo was talking about the housing first that was implemented in Lisbon during the COVID-19, because it was one of the few cities that I know of that when the first lockdown came, gathered all of the people in homeless situation and started taking care of them. The approach changed during the COVID, and that's how they got from 80 housing firsts to 400 right now.
Invest in the
Yeah.
people of the city. That's our problem here. We don't have enough investment and enough faith. There's a lack of trust between the people of the city and the government for our city hall. I don't know how your city hall works. We have like 25 wards. I think you call them blocks in one of the cities. I think in one of the areas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we call them wards over here. We have 25 councillors. It was reduced from a larger amount. But the problem is that it's a very wide area. It's little response, things getting done. I don't know what the policy is. We have a lot of incumbents. We have councillors that have been sitting there for a long time. And the problem is change. Yeah, we have some that have been there 25 years sitting in council. I don't know what the policy we have. It's funny saying that, yeah. But the problem is
the same everywhere in the world.
It
doesn't change much,
yeah,
does
it's
it?
like where you guys took it a step. You took that lack of trust out of that system and you put it back in the people, and you see the results. 80% reduced from poverty, homelessness down. That's what that's what we gotta establish here. Our problem is we have so many heads of states making decisions. We got housing policies, we have promises, but the frustration is even though this is going on, we still people get kicked out of their homes. The market's high, the housing's down. Like you said, most of Europe's all the renters, right? Like over here, I don't.
Well, I don't know if this helps you or not. Sorry for interrupting you, but we are studying different types of governance. Not that you lose the actual system as it is, but we are studying cities that organize themselves with different levels of governance, like associações de moradores. How do you say that?
Housing cooperatives now.
Yeah, well,
associations.
Yeah, like neighborhood associations
we have that here too.
That talk with the next level of governance, and then you have something in between, and then finally you get to a stage that the level of proximity is pretty close, and so you can start changing little things, and then maybe step to some bigger issues as housing, which is very difficult.
We have tenant associations. We have so many groups. We have biking groups, associations. The problem is we got to come together as coalitions, different, like say housing, biking. We got a bike event coming meeting on January. Well, getting extension of bike routes. So over here, it's a lot of problems getting bike routes. Now it's getting better. Not like in Europe. I used to live in Europe too, in the military, but it's getting better. But the thing is, we have different wards. We have associations. We have tremendous volunteers. I've talked to so many of them, so many volunteers on their own time, doing on their own love for the city. And the problem is they want answers, and answers are they're not quick enough. That's the problem. Get things done faster and better and more efficient. More faith in the people. People can have faith in the city. That's the problem during the election. Like
you have big cars there.
Pardon me?
You have huge trucks in there. Everybody has a huge truck.
Oh. You mean the SUVs and all that? I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's like a big thing. Oh yeah, I know. Over there, I was like, yeah. I lived in Europe there. I saw like even Montreal. Yeah, it's a big thing. It's a big. It's everybody has every second person has. I don't have. I have a little car, Toyota. That's it. But I don't have the big trucks and all that.
Here in Portugal, things are cars are getting bigger, but they're electric now.
Oh yeah. What's the rate of your over here for electricity? Like we're trying to go. We have a date for 2030 for a mandate to get all electric by 2030 for all cars, and also go green economy. What is it over there like for cars wise?
Supposedly in 2030 will be in that's the goal, but the thing is, the government and City Hall, they're selling it as that transformation as something that is going to solve the problems in cities, but we're not convinced.
No.
What we think cities need is to respect the pedestrian, to change the logic of the streets, respect the pedestrian, respect the bikers, get bike lanes, less cars, and more public transport. So we went to Barcelona, and I don't know if you know what they're doing in Barcelona. I know that Carlos Moreno is very influential in Paris, and he's doing the 15-minute city in Paris, right? And everybody wants to know about that. But the thing is, in Barcelona, without the Colau, which is the mayor, they were able to create one thing called super manzanas, like super blocks, and it's an amazing experience.
I saw I was watching the videos there a couple times about that. It's amazing. Yeah, just get rid of all the cars, bike lanes. You know, we want that here big time. We got like so many bike groups. I talked to a few of them. They're so enthusiastic. And they're so knowledgeable. You know, things they tell me about. They take stats. Oh, they're all volunteers. They take stats. They count times. They talk routes. You know about the city, and that's what we need. And just like when I watched the video, what they're doing there, blocks closing off streets. I wish we could do that here. I said, you know, if I was, I said we have so many areas downtown. We're so used to the cars still. That's a problem. We're gonna get to that transition period. You know, we have
I know,
buses, but what you did there, it's amazing.
You need better public transport, and we need better public transport. And Barcelona, the thing about the super manzanas is incredible, because they don't really cut traffic. What they do is they reroute traffic, in the sense that if you go into the neighborhood, you go out in the same way. So there's no traffic that goes by to go to another place. That's eliminated. And so the thing is, in cities, we've constructed cities in the last 70 years with the promise that with another lane, with another car lane, we could solve the problem with traffic. And that's false. One more lane, right?
Just one more lane.
And that's false. It didn't solve any problems with traffic anywhere in the world. Actually, California is the best example, right, of what not to do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's the best example that you should run away from.
I lived there for about a year in the military in the traffic. You talk about the grades.
It's crazy, right?
I know. Oh yeah, I wouldn't live there. I lived there for like, you know, 3 hours stuck in the.
How to be alive, because there's no way that you can live around, 2 tons of steel, and it's too much. The car consumes everything around you. I think Ricardo has the data on Barcelona, but I think it's over 60% of public space goes to cars. Yeah. How did we get there? And then you see cities like Germany has a whole lot of cities that were thought 30 years ago to not to have cars, like the Freiburg. Freiburg has like 2 huge neighborhoods, and it's beautiful. It has like a tram, a tram, mm-hmm. And the whole neighborhood was built around the tram. People cannot get a car. They don't have where to park it. They are not allowed to have a car. And the only thing you can have is a bicycle, or to be a happy pedestrian, and they have a good life. They seem to have a good life.
It's amazing. Yeah. We have so many, our city is designed horizontally and vertically. So like you can never get lost. You can just go to a subway. You have subways over there?
We do.
Yeah. We haven't improved on ourselves. Improving. It's a slow process. We're getting there. But like, I think the culture, like I was telling people, we got to change our culture and thinking mentality of driving and biking and that's also economy. Like you said, you're not going to solve the problem just by eliminating all this by 2030. That's not the problem. What you showed the examples in the cities there, That's right there. It's solving right there. Clean living. Yeah, and we talked about also. You talk about one country is over 50% overweight or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but the thing about Barcelona, and let me get back to it, is that they've shown that even when we have a city that's highly car dependent, we can retrofit, and this is something new, in the sense that sometimes you say, well, we can't do anything about it because it's just a culture. That's not the fact. And there in Barcelona, they were able to create the supermanzanas. And we have to think about, for whom did we plan cities? So we've planned cities around the car, but I don't know if it's the same there in Toronto and in Canada. But here in Lisbon and in Europe, the car rests still for 92% of the time. And in those 8% of the time that we're using the car, 1/3 of that, we use it to find a parking spot. So it's crazy.
It is,
We've invented a machine of over 1 ton to carry a guy that weighs 70 kilos, and it's awful in terms of efficiency, and it's everything on the contrary of what it should be. And more than that, if you go through the numbers, mainly here in Europe, mainly the people who use cars are white guys in their middle years of lifetime, right? So
we got white guys here too,
Yeah.
The same thing.
But
they got money. They like the cars. They like the comforts. It's all matters.
I bet you they're sitting on Parliament for the past 25 years.
Yeah,
that's it.
So these guys just hijacked our cities.
Yeah,
they've built the cities around themselves, and now they're telling us and they're telling not just us, because I'm a middle-aged white guy, so they're telling myself that we can't retrofit. So women that use more the public transportation, the city is not for them. And young guys, young children, and youngsters and old people, none of these use the car as much as those guys.
And even all of the rest of the white guys, that don't use cars.
Yeah.
So we have 70% of the space of the city, of the public space of the city, for a minority of white, male, middle-aged guys. And they tell us that the city has to be like this, and it hasn't. So if you really are thinking about constructing a city for everyone, you need to retrofit. And one of the best examples is Barcelona, and maybe Paris is another good example. You should study them. It's incredible.
I got about 4 minutes left. Do you want to do another session? Do you have time for another session after?
Let's go.
Okay, so another session will start in about half an hour, but this will be got 4 minutes left here. Just to want to also, I'm surprised to have I didn't know your wife was involved. It's amazing, So, yeah. How long have you been married?
A year now.
A year.
That's it. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, it's amazing. And you met through how did you meet? Through the studying and all?
We worked together like
5 years.
No, yeah, but we worked together like 12 years ago, and I met Ricardo there. And then I think he was my boss for like 2 or 3 years, and then he went working somewhere else. And again, the pandemics came, and finally we thought about.
I gotta tell you, Ricardo. Yeah. Ricardo, as soon as you're married, you're never the boss anymore.
I know.
But it's a good boss. It's a really good boss.
Yes, but it's a democracy here. The kids vote too.
Yeah. I like I like how you do your little bloopers, the videos at the end. You do little mistakes you show. I like the honesty, but it makes you're not doing the perfect video and you're making mistakes. I like that's amazing. I like it.
He didn't wanted them there.
Yeah,
I think it's great.
That was the editor.
Yeah, that was me.
I know it just shows real. You're not being the whole perfect host and all, but just make we all make mistakes. They show we're all coming in. You're not perfect, but it's just funny.
Because part of the idea of the videos, of the episodes, it's to show that, look, we're not fanatics about anything. We were just talking about cars. We have a car. We never know where the car is because it stays parked for like for the time that it should be parked. And then when we need to do 200 kilometers to a place there that there's no way we get there without the car, we go get it, and that's it. You know, every other trip we make, it's by public transportation, which we dearly love and found. Yeah.
So we're going to change.
Okay, yeah, it's gonna end in 2 minutes, so I'll cut it off here and talk to you in half an hour. Next one starts at 3:30. You be okay for that?
Okay, okay, that's it.
Yeah, 3:30 my time will be I guess 8:30 your time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go for another session. We'll continue. Well, I'll talk to you about transportation and also what's it, agriculture. We talked about one of the cities that built the gardens on the roof. We can talk about that in the next session. Okay, so I'll talk to you in half an hour, and we'll do that.
Okay.
Okay, go for coffee.
Yeah.
Stop the video here, and I'll talk to you in half an hour there. Okay.
Okay, até já.